So the biggest challenge was to first educate the parents to help them educate their children.
Right.
But fortunately, once we started the school, it wasn't very difficult for us to get children admitted to our school. But since they have no respect for education, they have no respect that we also want the children to be disciplined and follow a routine. School reopens on the 3rd of July, and on the 10th of July they come, ma'am, हम तो 2 महीने के लिए गाँव जा रहे हैं, हमको अपने बच्चों को छुट्टी देनी है. So I said, we've just finished a vacation of 6 weeks. आप तब क्यों नहीं गए? नहीं, तब हमारा काम नहीं था, अब हमारा काम है. And invariably, even if they take छुट्टी for 15 days, they don't come back up till for another 2 months. So these are challenges, and my teachers have a huge problem because once the child comes back, the child is restarting from where they started when the school reopened.
Everyone, I am Jitendra Singh, banker turned entrepreneur and author of the book Perfect Mastering the Art of Selling. I welcome you to read my story where I interview authors, speakers, coaches, celebrities, entrepreneurs and more. Today I have with me Miss Seema Seth. She has a rich background in corporate world as an HR professional and a corporate trainer spanning 25 years. Has now dedicated her expertise to the field of social development, firmly believe in the untapped potential of individuals regardless of their background. She is associated with organizations that share their passion for empowering individuals towards a graceful life. In 2014, she founded Nayi Disha, a school catering to children from marginalized communities, providing them with non-formal education between ages 5 to 10, preparing them for regular mainstream school. And through Nayi Disha, around 160 children have successfully gained admission to prestigious schools, including DPS, Shiksha, Kendra, and Amitasha of Amity International School. Alongside the educational endeavors, Nayi Disha tackles community issues and recently embarked on significant initiatives to create safe peace for children by conducting workshops and counseling on topics like sexual harassment and school dropout prevention. As a team member at St. Jude Child Care Center, she volunteered her time for staff development, addressing staff issues, promoting children education, and fostering parent engagement. With vast experience as a corporate trainer and certified assessor for development centers, she has collaborated with various organizations to enhance employee skills and performance. Her dedication extends to addressing critical issues like POSH investigations and awareness workshops, where she actively contributes as an external IC member for companies like Maruti and others in Gurgaon. So today she will be discussing with us about her life journey. So let us hear from her. Welcome, Seema ma'am. The platform is open, and now over to you.
Thank you so much for this introduction, Jitendra. Yeah, I know. It seems like I've really traveled a lot and the journey has been long, and I've done a lot more than was expected of me because my name is Seema and Seema means limit. But I think I've crossed all my boundaries and of course extended all my limits, and I continue to move on, and I hope to move on as long as my health permits and as long as I'm able to contribute successfully to the development of society, which is something that I have taken on since my move to the development sector. So that's me. I think you've already told everybody about what I've done. So is there anything else that you would like to know from me before we can start with your question?
Ma'am, let's start. And first thing I'd like to know from you is how did your past life has affected the person you wanted to be in your life and what you are?
So, my journey started in Dehradun. I belong to Dehradun, and in a household of 5 young girls, 4 sisters and my mother. My mother was all of 25 and she had 4 daughters. So we all grew up together as sisters. I mean, I never consider her as my mother. Of course, she came with a lot more maturity than all of us, but I think the growing up years were extremely happy. I think Dehradun is a place where, I think people go back there for holidays, but I grew up there and my memories of there are very, very fond. And despite the fact that we financially, we always struggled, and my mother continued to balance between what she wanted to give us, and she gave us the best. We studied in the best school in Dehradun. Dehradun, which was Convent of Jesus and Mary. We wore very nice. She designed very fancy clothes for us. We traveled a lot, and despite the fact that she was always crunching with, and of course financially making do and making a month-on-month budgets for so that we would be happy, and we never felt that she never made us feel that or she never deprived us of anything that would make us feel that we didn't have enough in life. We learned to share because with 4 sisters and a mother who was constantly overlooking our needs, we learned to share. And I remember my mother we used to get peanuts, and my mother used to count the number of pieces and divide them equally between the 4 sisters, so that none of us felt that she was favoring the other one. So that's another thing I learned from her: no favoritism. You need to be fair. And she was firm, she was fair, and she encouraged us to make our own decisions. And that's something I really appreciate for her. Unfortunately, she passed away much before I started Nayi Disha, because I knew she would be extremely proud of the work I'm doing. So I actually named my trust after her, which is Nayi Disha Charitable Trust. That was her name. I miss her every time, every day of my life. And I think that these are certain things that don't change, and that's part of life. So she was firm, fair, and she let us take our own decisions as long as they were reasonable and within the limit of what she could accept. She was educated. In fact, she continued to do her B.Ed. When all of us were going to school, she would go to college. So that was the kind of relationship we had with my mother. All 5 of us would sit in the evening and do our homework together. So, you learn to appreciate her, because besides managing the household, she was also managing us and our lives. And so it was a very nice and happy household that we had. And Dehradun was a very beautiful place at that time. It's changed a lot. But, sitting inside the house in the winter nights with an angeethi, with their dinner, so that, everybody, and, it was all family time all the time. And that's something I really appreciated about my growing up years. So, like I said, she was very fair, and she allowed us to take our own decisions. So I decided after I finished class 11 from CJM Dehradun, I decided I didn't want to study anymore because I didn't enjoy studying. But then getting married was not an option at that time. My mother said there's no way that, you can't study, but you have to do something. So I was sent off to my uncle in Calcutta, where I did my secretarial course. It was a 1-year course, and when I came back, I got a job with Welham Boys School in Dehradun, and I continued to work there for 5 years. And such happy time. I was all of 18 years old. That's when I started working. So I've been working all those years. And you're not going to ask me what my age is now, is it? So I started working at the age of 18, and I had such good time because, I was the youngest among the staff there. And the boys in the school treated me like one big Didi. So I took full advantage of that, and I got to go for the best camps and, outdoor trips. And 5 years was a long time, and I think I learned a lot there also, because straight out of school, straight after completing 1 year of secretarial course, working taught you how to deal with people. So those were my growing up years. So life was good. I think everything happened the way I wanted it to happen, and having the support from the family, and having a great job, a great place to work with an extended family of all these senior staff members. So that was my growing up years, and I think the influences were very good. And I always believe that if you have a happy childhood, it reflects on your growing up years. Your growing up years and how you utilize those happy memories to go forward and meet your challenges, I think it helps a lot. So having a happy childhood is really very important.
Right. That's really nice. So if I ask you about your passion, like what are the things you're passionate about, and what is the role of motivation and inspiration onto it further?
See, always learning and evolving as a person has always been my motivation. What motivates me personally is to be wanted, and to be engaged in doing something that is for the good of the others. The more I have, the more I am motivated to do more. That's why. So, in fact, my friends and family always make a joke of it, that when I finish one task, they say, okay, what next? Because they know I'm a restless person. Seema kabhi aaram se baithegi nahi. So that's what everybody knows that. So the need to think ahead and do whatever needs to be done to help the community is what keeps me motivated and charged. I am passionate about growth. growth, which means growth for self, my children, and for whatever I am doing. And you've already introduced Nayi Disha to the audience. So growth is something very important. Always enthusiastic and helping others to grow. And I'm sure that is something that, people who work in the development sector, that's, I think, becomes the key motivator or the key inspiration to move on. I've personally, so respect for people and breaking barriers of gender, religion, caste, economic, that's something that you need to put aside. And that is something that has helped me to do what I'm doing successfully. Because I think you need to respect that we are all human beings, but we have different opportunities in life. Our homes are different. Maybe the vehicle that we drive is different. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And I think that's something which we need to respect. And that's something we need to keep foremost before we think of anything or we take any action. So I think all this happens is because education is most important. Because I think if you are educated, you take the right perspective to life and use it in the right way to be able to be a contributing human being of society. So my inspiration, and I always tell a lot of my teachers who are in my school, I have 12 teachers in my school, and also a lot of other training programs that I have had for underprivileged children. I always tell them the story of Arunima Sinha. I'm sure you know the story of Arunima Sinha. She was a football player who got injured because she was pushed out of the train. She got an artificial leg, but yet she decided that she wanted to climb the Mount Everest because a lot of people said, "Ab to kuch kar payegi nahi, khatam ho gayi tum." So she challenged herself and she actually climbed the Mount Everest with one artificial leg. So I think these are the kind of people who inspire me, because I think in each one of us, we have the ability to challenge ourselves, to push ourselves. And once we do that, I guess there's no looking back and there's no stopping you. So that's where my motivation and inspiration comes. I look around and see who are the people who made life for themselves despite challenges. I have students who I'm pushing now, class 10, 12, and I'm hoping that one day they will also have a flag in their hand and, tell me that because of the education they have in Nayi Disha, they've become something in life. And that is something that motivates me to keep going and to keep thinking of doing more and more for the children who I'm working with.
Right. And you are really doing a great work through initiative with Nayi Disha.
I'm a drop in the ocean because there's so much that all of us can do. There's so much to be done. So what I'm doing, of course, but drop by drop is what the ocean makes. So Correct. That's something I'm happy that whatever bit I can contribute, I'm doing my.
Right, man. That's really a great initiative. So if I talk about your work and experiences, some of the things you have already highlighted, that how you started working. So onto this further, how is your career look like? What all you did so far during these 25 years?
Yeah, when I think of it, I actually start feeling tired because I've actually done it. Like I told you, I started working at the age of 18. And the first 5 years was like a picnic all the time. And then, of course, I moved on to corporate world, and about almost 25 years of hard work in the corporate world. I worked with lots of organizations called like Aisha. But the longest stint was with American Express. I worked there for 8 years. So every company has a lot, because the kind of people you work, there are different people in every organization. Some organizations very employee friendly. Some organizations have a absolutely zero tolerance policy for employees. So you learn, and I think the learning is that you need to take away what is you feel is good and what you can apply elsewhere. So the 25 years of working, I've met different kinds of people. I've had different kind of bosses. I've had different kinds of colleagues, and I've left with friends in all organizations because, that's the kind of person I am. I thrive on relationships. So relationships is something that helps me to, increase my networking, because I think the corporate sector teaches you how important networking is. And in this day and age, I think networking is really what brings you all the, the success and all the kind of people that you really want to be with. You have to be receptive. So I'm just talking about, 8 years of American Express, which finished in 2004. And that's when I actually stopped my full-time career, corporate career, and I got on to corporate training because I felt I need a little flexibility of time because my son was in class 12 and I really think that he needed my help. So that's when I actually opted out of the full-time corporate job and moved into corporate training, which gave me the flexibility of spending more time at home. So wherever you are, and I think every individual you deal with or work with teaches you one good thing. And I think you just need to have an open mind. You need to be receptive to taking which actually will benefit for you. And of course, you have an option of deleting the negatives, because at the end of the day, you have a mind of your own and you do what you think is best for you. So of course, and then October 2013 is when I decided I have had enough of the corporate world, enough of corporate trainings. And I just sent a mail to this person I was working with, and I said, I'm out. I don't want to be working anymore. But fortunately for me, March 2014, Nayi Disha happened. Nayi Disha happened, and it happened only by chance. It wasn't planned. I've never been in the development sector. I've never been in education. But Nayi Disha happened, and that has so far been the most important chapter in my life. And that has now been 10 years. So we're almost completing 10 years of that. So it was my time to give back to society. I learned a lot during the 30 years that I've worked with the corporate world. So I really felt I have enough experience, and I think I will be able to manage running a school. And that was only with the support of my friends and family, because it was a completely impromptu and a decision. Life thereon, I mean, it's not been easy, but it's been most enjoyable. So that has been about my work life as such. That, corporate world started 18, corporate world 2014 to now has been Nayi Disha. So you can see that, I have enough to do. Of course, you talked about my volunteering work in St. Jude. I continue to do that. I've been a volunteer with them for 7 years. They are an organization that provide boarding and lodging to children who are suffering from cancer. So it's a very beautiful organization, very well structured. So I enjoy working there, even though it's on a part-time and on a voluntary basis. So that's about work.
Really great that you are working with different initiatives. So nice to hear about them. So if I talk about your vision, mission and goal in life, so for next 5 to 10 years, what do you think that is?
So I think probably since now, I've overdone with the corporate world and my focus is towards the children who I'm working with. And I'm working with children from the marginalized community. I don't like to call them underprivileged children, because they are not underprivileged. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to enjoy the privileges that people like us have. So that's something that is an awareness I want to bring about to them, to say, you're going to be responsible for changing your lives. And of course, I always believe in this quote from Nelson Mandela, that education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. And I want to give these children that weapon to make them understand that education is something that will change their life. So I'm sure you can understand and probably summarize to say that my vision is to be able to provide education, not only education, the other qualities that any individual will need to become a responsible citizen of society. And when I say responsible citizen of society, so my children need to know the right to education. They need to know about the right to speech. They need to know about that they have a voice and they need to be heard, and they need to use that voice to be heard. They need to know how to assert themselves. They need to because my children and the children who work in other homes, the only difference is that they haven't had the opportunities that probably children who are. So, but when you talk about children, they're all the same. So even when I have volunteers who come from other school, the students from other school, the nursery rhymes they recite, the science projects that they do are the same that my children are doing. It's only that their homes are different. So my vision is, of course, to be able to provide that platform to these children where they can actually make a difference to their own lives. And I also believe that everybody is responsible for their own lives. And of course, we are providing that forum, but we are also helping them to think how they would want to make that change to their own lives.
Right.
So learn to be heard. That's another thing that I feel what worked for me is hard work and determination. And that's something that I learned from my mother. And another thing is that I say learn to relearn and unlearn. I think it's a lot of gyan, but I think that's what it. And I always believe that, and I always think, I'm 67 years old, by the way, but I just feel that age is an excuse. Age is just a number and I think you can continue to be productive. You can continue to do things that you want to, and what will help make a difference, bring about the change in the world that you desire. But the motto is to keep going as long as you can, and to keep doing things that will help anybody else to make a difference to their life.
Right. So, ma'am, if I talk about the things you have learned in your life, could be from personal or professional. So, what are those most important learnings?
So, the most important learnings are, I would say, hard work and determination. And that worked for me, and I think that can work for anybody, because if you say, I say, if you set your mind on a goal that this is something that you would want to do, and stay focused, and it's almost like say को एक जुनून चढ़ जाना चाहिए कि मेरे को वो करना ही है. So that's something that is very important, and like I said, probably I learned that from my mother, because she was a very determined person and she made sure that she got everything that she wanted for us. So the other thing is, what do I say, learning dance. I mean, that's one thing I learned from a coaching lesson. Say, dance in the moment. Enjoy what you have now and don't worry about tomorrow, because we've been through pandemic and we sometimes know, sometimes tomorrow never comes. And we've been, because we live in an uncertain world. So dance in the moment. And always also see, I'll have a lot of cliches that I'm going to use here. Also about to say, ke sara sara, what will be, will be. So whatever you do, I mean, as long as you are doing your best, but there are certain things that you cannot change. And if something's to happen, it will happen. So continue and do things the way you wish, that what keeps you happy. And the other learning is that if you have something, if you are unhappy about something, and if you are unhappy about a person or a thing that is not adding value to your life, but is actually making you miserable, throw that thing out of your life. Right. Because I don't know why we keep, holding on to things, we keep carrying baggage, which doesn't help us. So be happy. And the first thing is be responsible for yourself, and the world will take care of itself.
Right. That's really important. So, ma'am, since you've been working around children, supporting them, so on to this further, what are some of the challenges working with community that does not give any importance to education? So what are you doing for an holistic approach to help these children become contributing citizens of the society?
I know we think this is a big challenge for us. Most of the people who live in the community where we have our schools, they come from the village with a single intention to say, हमको पैसे बनाने हैं. We have to go back and build a house for our parents. We have to go back and get my sibling married. हमारे पास ब्याज है, हमको वो loan हटाना है. They leave the house, they get jobs as cooks, housemaids, drivers, vegetable sellers, security guards. So they leave their homes at 7, come back at maybe 7 or 10 or 10 o'clock in the night. Children are not something they worry about. They feel बच्चे गली में खेल रहे हैं, कुछ होगा नहीं उनको, कुछ नहीं. And education is something they've never thought about.
Correct.
So the education is something they've never thought about, because neither them or their forefathers have ever been to school. And if they feel that they've managed their lives the way without education, why does my child need education? So the first most biggest hurdle was to convince the parents to say that zamana badal gaya hai, and you need to do more for your children, because they may not like to do what you're doing. It's not that what you're doing is bad, but probably because they've had so much exposure, you've brought them to a city, they see big cars, they watch TV, they see what is happening to the other children. So you have to create a different world for them. So the biggest challenge was to first educate the parents to help them educate their children.
Right.
But fortunately, once we started the school, it wasn't very difficult for us to get children admitted to our school. In fact, we always have a long waiting list. Parents come at all times of the year to say हमारे बच्चों को admission. But since they have no respect for education, they have no respect that we also want the children to be disciplined and follow a routine. School reopens on the 3rd of July, and on the 10th of July they come, ma'am, हम तो 2 महीने के लिए गाँव जा रहे हैं, हमको अपने बच्चों को छुट्टी देनी. So I said, we've just finished a vacation of 6 weeks. आप तब क्यों नहीं गए? नहीं, तब हमारा काम नहीं था, अब हमारा काम है. And invariably, even if they take छुट्टी for 15 days, they don't come back up till for another 2 months. So these are challenges, and my teachers have a huge problem because once the child comes back, and if we happen to take that child back, that child is restarting from where they started when the school reopened, because there's nobody to help them at home to do their homework or to help them finish their work and all. So attendance is my biggest challenge. We start with 200 children, then one day I see the board, it says total strength 19, present 15, absent 4. Invariably, you will hardly have a day when you say the attendance is full. All the children are attending. So, and of course, educating the parents has been a huge challenge because we keep telling them, and only for that reason we started imposing a small fee and a late fee for children in case they didn't show up. Then we would want to say कि आपको 10 रुपए देने पड़ेंगे, उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, दे देते हैं, but ठीक है, पर उनको because they just feel that पढ़ लिख के क्या करेंगे वापस, they have to go back to the village, they will work there in the farm. So not realizing that there may be some children, maybe 5% of them, who have aspirations and who want to stay on here and may want to continue their education or want to do bigger things in life.
Correct.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Rightly. So on to this further, like you have been working with Nayi Disha. So how does Nayi Disha approach addressing sexual harassment in workshops and counseling for children? So what strategies to ensure a supportive and comfortable environment for discussing such sensitive issues?
So when you say sensitive issues, sex is not sensitive issue at all for these people who live in an open community. It is not something which is a private matter. Everybody knows about everybody's life. Everybody knows what the other is doing in their home. In fact, it's really sad, but children are exposed to it. They come back and say, "Oh, जब मेरी मम्मी काम पे जाती हैं, तो मेरी वो बुआ या कोई आती है मेरे पापा के पास." So, and they live in small homes, which is like 10 by 12, and maybe there are 6 to 7 members who live there together. Everything happens in front of the children. So for children, sex is not a private matter. And it's really sad because just last week, my teacher came and told me, "Okay, ma'am, I just caught this little boy who was about 6 or 7 years old. On his wrist, he's written XXX. So she said, I didn't understand कि XXX क्या होता है. So I said XXX, maybe somebody. So the other boys tell them कि इसका एक बड़ा भैया आता है घर में और उसको वो वीडियो पे ये XXX चैनल है, उस पे ये उसको ये चीजें दिखाते. So they watch porn on their phones. At the age of 6 and 7, if you're watching, then what are you growing up with? Do you think sex will have any kind of will it ever be a taboo subject? No. But all the same, I'm just giving an example on what kind of an environment we live in. But all the same, it has been a constant endeavor. We have regular workshops where we teach children about the sensitivity to sex. To say sex is not bad, but there is an age to it. So we have regular workshops, and in fact, we have created a very nice module called Create Safe Spaces, which talks about good touch, bad touch. We have volunteers who come in regularly to talk to children and to parents. And surprisingly, it's only the mothers who mostly attend these workshops. So we do have workshops for the mothers where we tell them about everything, where it talks about maintaining hygiene for the children, maintaining hygiene for themselves. So then recently we taught them about the menstrual cup, and also we are creating enough awareness so that at least there is some little difference that they can bring to the lives of their children. Even mothers sometimes probably are embarrassed, but they don't want to talk about it. So when we started these workshops, the Create Safe Spaces workshop, the first child spoke up after 5 months. After 5 months of listening to our, regular interaction with them to say, this is not good. You should tell us if there is something that happens. If somebody is touching you in the wrong place, go and tell your parents, and probably your parents will take action. If they don't take action, come to us. But of course, for them, it was very difficult to speak up. So it took us 5 months for the first child to speak up. So, right. But once one child speaks up, then, the others feel कि बोलने में कोई problem नहीं है, क्या पता मैम लोग हमारों को, because we would notice changes in children. A very nice, bubbly child suddenly became very quiet, and she would start peeing in her pants in class, because obviously somebody had taken advantage of her. But when you go and talk to the parents, they say, "Madam ji, हमारे घरों में तो ऐसा हुआ." So it's sad, but it's just that we don't give up. We know that it's important for the children to know. We all on our notice boards, we've written child helpline 1098 and all. So we do whatever we can to be able to make that difference. And hopefully over the years when they grow up, they will realize that there is some value to what we have actually been educating them about.
Correct. So, ma'am, like, how do you plan to extend efforts beyond Nayi Disha reach to combat school dropouts and sexual harassment in other communities? What partnership are crucial for achieving a wider impact in children protection?
See, school dropout is a huge challenge for all schools, especially the schools, the NGO schools. Here, I think we start off with about 200 children the beginning of the year. About at least maybe 20% of the children, we don't even know where they've gone because they go back to the village and they never come back. But especially after the pandemic, we made a conscious decision to say that we will not let go of these children who have now become overage, because being overage means they're not given admission in any school. Right. So we try so we added classes to our school. We were only till from KG to class 2. Last year we added classes 3, 4, 5, and thereafter we get them admission in different schools where there are high schools, and we also admit them for open schooling. Open schooling has the flexibility of age, so they don't have to go looking around for admission. So we have classes in our school and make sure they attend those classes, appear for our exams on our own premises, and of course then send them to bigger schools. And in order to do that, I even provide transportation to children to go to a school which is far away, because I know lack of transportation will prompt the parents to say, "Hamare paas paise nahi, hum nahi de." So we're ensuring all that so that we make sure that whatever children come to me in Nayi Disha stay till they finish class 12, because otherwise my purpose is defeated. If I'm now training them to be good citizens in the initial stages, if I let them be after class 5 or 6, it defeats my purpose, because I know it'll be so easy for them to forget what we've taught them and pick up habits like maybe smoking, drinking, drugs, going and stealing. So that's something I'm completely against. And we keep a very strict watch on anybody, any parent who we get to know has sent their child for work, because we know there is a child labor. In fact, today's newspaper has a huge article on how many children have been rescued. 339 children have been rescued from a single place where child labor was being used. So those are little things that we are taking steps against, because school dropouts is something which completely goes against my principles and objective of actually running it.
Correct.
So, and when you say about what we are doing, the Create Safe Spaces modules, we created it, and we've actually trained teachers from other schools so that they can train any child caregiver, that this is what they need to be aware of. When you're looking after a child, you need to be responsible for their safety. And what is it that you need to do to be able to be responsible for their safety? So this Create Safe Spaces is actually an 8-module kind of a thing that we've developed based on a lot of surveys and a lot of our discussions with parents and with children. And we also have CRY volunteers coming in on a regular basis. We've also now enrolled Young India Forum lawyers who come and talk about this specific subject, so that, this becomes something that is important to everybody and they take it very serious. So that's what we are doing. We are trying to have these workshops. For the pandemic stopped it in the middle, but we will be resuming these workshops where we can train other teachers and caregivers to talk about the subject of sexual harassment and POXO, because that is something which really needs to safeguard the safety of our children.
Right, ma'am. So coming back to you again, if I asked you, like, what is your take on success? What do you think about it?
Okay, for me, success on a personal level is when I see hundreds of people appreciating my sons on the work that we've done. People coming back and saying, "Oh, what a good job you have done to bring up your sons. They are such lovely people." On the personal front, that is success for me. Because I think as a mother, even all the aspirations and the dreams you have, probably I was never an ambitious person, and I never learned to dream. The only thing I would dream about is what my sons would be able to do and accomplish when they grew older. So that's where success on a personal level it means to me. And success to me means when I actually opened the newspaper the other day and I read an article there of a girl called Priya, who we used to mentor in the Sikandarpur government school. Her parents were housemaids and cooks, So we took her out of the Sikandarpur school. In fact, we took 26 children out of that school and admitted them to Amitasha, which is run by Amity International School. She did a high school from there where she actually got a scholarship from Mensa High IQ Society. So all her education in college was sponsored by Mensa. So this was the child out of the 26. And today she is working as an air hostess in Indigo.
Great.
So that is success for me, to say, yes, I have been able to, out of the 26 girls, I've made a difference to at least that one girl. So out of all the hundreds of children that I'm working with in the last 10 years, if at least 5 of them came up and said, ma'am, aaj main ye kar raha hu, that will be my success story.
Right.
You know, so this Priya story, of course, made me extremely happy to say that means we are making a difference to some life. So that is success for me. The success is basically when I leave footprints for other people to follow, to say, Seema's done a good job, maybe we can also do the same thing. So that is what success for me, because success doesn't mean living in big homes or big cars. For some, of course, it does mean, and it is money I feel is very important. But I wouldn't define my success story based on that. It would be on what I have been able to accomplish with my own children and with the children who I'm working. So I want to see many more children like that.
That's really nice, ma'am. You are working really hard to help and support other people. So
the hard work has been my motto. Hard work has been my motto, and I continue to do that as long as I can.
Right. So like we are on last one. So before we leave, any message or advice you would like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Again, one thing that I've learned from my son, it is basically his tagline on Instagram. He says, no matter how you feel, get up, dress up and show up. You know, life is very uncertain. Life is like a roller coaster ride. One day you're on a high, one day you're on a... But I don't think you should let your problems pull you down. So however I feel, and I feel that way too, the day I'm feeling really down, something ho jata hai na, kabhi you're not feeling up to it. I go to school, and the moment I go to school, I feel energized. So it's just that you need to take things in your stride. So no journey is without hurdles. So enjoy the ride. Look up, don't ever look down, because when you're going on a roller coaster, you look down and you feel, oh my God, abhi girunga, abhi mar jaunga. So don't ever do that. So do whatever keeps you happy, and whatever makes you feel unhappy, like I earlier also said, keep that out of your mind. And like I said, live for today, you don't know about tomorrow.
Correct. That's really important and wonderful thing.
Yeah, so I know, because we keep carrying baggage. हम अपना सारा ढोते रहते हैं पुराना baggage. And I don't think that really takes you there. It just slows your journey down. So if you want to speed up your journey, throw away your baggage and move on.
Correct. Very like meaningful thing. So I must say the discussion we had was really amazing. You have shared so many facts from your journey so far and so many learnings as well, and the work you are doing for the betterment of people, like children especially, that's really commendable, and you are doing a really like wonderful work. So I must thank you for the discussion we had today. Looking forward to hear more from you soon again. Thank you so very much, ma'am. It was awesome having you here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here to be able to talk about my journey. Thank you. Thank you, Jiten.
I will also share social media link of yours so that people can be in touch with you, take your help and guidance wherever they feel like. So guys, don't forget to check that out too. And thank you so very much everyone for watching and listening. I hope you all must have gathered a lot of information and enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good time. Thank you and bye-bye.